Back-to-back games? How about back-to-back wins for the Carolina Hurricanes over the weekend? And they play on a Monday afternoon game against the Buffalo Sabres. A lot's going on for the Hurricanes. So let's talk about it on a Monday edition of Locked On Hurricanes.
Your Locked On Hurricanes, your daily podcast on the Carolina Hurricanes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to the Monday edition of Locked On Hurricanes, your team every day. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now part of the number one podcast network. I'm your host, Zach Martin, the credentialed Carolina Hurricanes beat writer over at the Hockey Writers. Also the co-host of the Searchcast, is a weekly Carolina Hurricanes podcast, along with all my duties here at Locked On Hurricanes. On today's show, we're going to be giving a general overview of the Hurricanes' 9-1 and 4-1 victories against the Florida Panthers and the New Jersey Devils, scoring 13 goals while only giving up 2. And we're going to preview the Monday afternoon Martin Luther King Jr. game against the Buffalo Sabres. But before we jump into all that, today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. The wild card round is here, and FanDuel is officially in playoff mode. So visit FanDuel, the official sportsbook partner of the NFL, and grab your profit boost pack every NFL playoff game day. So the Carolina Hurricanes on Friday and Saturday had a second set of back-to-backs in the same week after a overtime loss to Detroit, shutout Tuesday night against the St. Louis Blues. Team comes back, plays at home on Friday against the Panthers, and then goes on the road right after they play the next day against the New Jersey Devils. And they didn't take just one. They took 2 wins in the process, and everyone got in the scoring parade, or at least got some points in a dominating fashion, scoring 13 in 2 days, and only gave up 2 goals in the process. And on top of that, they're now the second team in the National Hockey League to get to 30 wins, and doing all of this with the adversity of guys out, multiple games, a lot of guys out at the same time, and they're finding a way to get the job done. And basically for this first part of it, it's just, we're not going to recap every game, but we're going to talk about like the main standouts, stuff that happened over the first couple games. We'll listen to Andrei Svechnikov in the second half of the show, and then we'll do the preview. But the fact that the Hurricanes dropped 9 goals on the Florida Panthers, and we're not even talking like it was a bunch in the first, some in the second, some in the third. This was an absolute dominating, foot on the throat type of win where they scored 6 goals. 6 goals in the third period alone. And the fact that he had not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 straight power play goals. 4 straight, going 4 for 5 on the night, 80%, going from mid-19% to 21.6, 19th to 13th in the league in terms of power plays. How about the fact that Nikolai Ehlers, first hat trick with the Hurricanes, 4 points. Mark Jankowski, 3 points. They had Aho, Stankoven, Jarvis, Svechnikov, Blake, and Hall for the forward cores getting 2 points. Alexander Nikishin gets 2 points. And the fact that every single forward in this game against Florida got a point. Jesperi Kotkaniemi with an assist, Eric Robinson with the goal, Martinook and Stahl all with assists. No one finished a minus. It was even or better across the board for everyone. Nikishin +2, Mike Riley +3, Jalen Chatfield +2, even Jacob Slavin +1. How about Brandon Bussey? 938 save percentage, 15 saves on 16 shots. What a way to get redemption for Brandon Bussey in that one to take the shutout loss in the first part of that 3-game stretch of Florida, Tampa, Florida, comes back, gets the win they definitely deserved, and basically held the Florida Panthers to 16 shots the entire game. 3 in the first, 5 in the second, 8 in the third. Just an overall great performance. Like I said, you got the fact that you got Jankowski with 3 points. Nikolai Ehlers gets his first hat trick with the team and gets a 4-point night. My goodness. And on top of that, when you look at like Aho, Jarvis, Svechnikov, multi-point games for these guys, but that carries over to the New Jersey game. How about Sebastian Aho, 3 points, Andrei Svechnikov, 3 points? And here's the thing, Sebastian Aho, how about 5 assists in the 2 games combined? 2 assists in the game against the Florida Panthers. He got a primary assist in every single one of Andrei Svechnikov's goal that led him to the hat trick. And the thing is, Andrei Svechnikov, like I said, goal and an assist for 2 points. How about 3 goals, period? That was all he had, was 3 goals. He had 4 goals in the span of 2 games and had an assist. So you're talking about a guy who had a 5-point run in 2 games. Andrei Svechnikov, at all intents and purposes, is fully back. Like, we're talking pre-ACL injury Andrei Svechnikov. Like, an absolute machine right now. He is on an absolute tear for the Hurricanes, and it's so good to see Andrei back, because we've been waiting for him to make this comeback, and he's been an absolute fire. Jarvis with an assist. Nikolai Ehlers, how about him getting 5 points in 2 games? Gets the hat trick and the assist against Florida, gets the assist against New Jersey. So there's a nice little 5 points in 2 games for him. Sebastian Aho, 5 points in 2 games. Same thing for Andrei Svechnikov. Jarvis with an assist. Jackson Blake gets a goal as well. You love to see it from Blake. You're getting his 15th of the season. He is already up to, like I said, 15 goals for the season. He had 17 all last season in 80 games. He's already 2 away from tying his career high in goals, and he still has like 31 games to do that. And on top of that, he's got 29 points total. He's 3 assists away from tying, and he's 5 away from tying his points. Jackson Blake, I said he's going to have 20 goals and 20 assists. I think he's going to be more than be able to break that for sure. But going back to Andrei Svechnikov real quick, like I said, he is more than back. He is more than back, because he already got his 400th point against the Panthers. 16 goals, 24 assists. He's already at 40 points on the season. He's 8 away from tying last year's total in 72 games after having to deal with injuries. 4 assists away from tying and 4 goals away from tying those numbers as well. Like, we could be potentially seeing a Andrei Svechnikov 55 or even a 60-point season. The last time he had 55 points was back in 22-23. Last time he hit 60 was back in 21-22 when he had 69. Like I said, we're talking pre-ACL Andrei Svechnikov. This dude is on an absolute run right now. I think he's gonna get at least 55. I think he's gonna touch 60 points. That's how on it Andrei is right now. How about Freddie Anderson? Back-to-back. Like, that is a great win for him. 29 saves on 30 shots against the Devils. That is a .967 save percentage. That's what you love to see from Freddie, for the fact that you get that bounce back from how that Detroit game finished out. .778 save percentage, but that's 2 wins in his last 3 starts. And I think that's his first 900-plus OPS in a while, and he definitely needed that one. Now he sits 7-10-3 on the season, and 325 goals against an 869. The numbers are getting there, but you definitely love to see that from Friday. But just an overall, across the board, like I said, you have 12 forwards scoring in game 1, at least a point. And then you got Alexander Nikishin getting a couple points. And then you move over to New Jersey. Kendra Miller with a point, Sean Walker with a point. Defense is still stepping up, but the fact that you got Ehlers 5 points, you got Seth Jarvis with 3 points, Andrei Svechnikov 5 points, Sebastian Aho 5 points. Like, Jarvis, Svech, and Aho all +3. +1s for a few guys, zeros. No one in the New Jersey game finished with a minus. That is phenomenal, for the fact that you're talking 2 games. Outscoring your opponents 13-2 combined, not one single person finished a minus. It was either even or plus across the board in 2 games. And multiple guys had 5 points in those 2 games as well. Like, that is what you call a dominant set of back-to-backs for the Carolina Hurricanes. What a way to bounce back from a tough 1 point in out of 4 earlier in the week for a back-to-back, and you followed up with a second set of a back-to-backs in the same week. 4 out of 4 points, absolutely dominant performance. You can't ask for better for that. When you get the Carolina Hurricanes on a full systems go, power play, PK 5-on-5, this is what we've been expecting. This is what we've been waiting for with a bunch of guys out. Some guys are not fully back, like Carey, Ghost, all that. But even when we do get the full team, you are seeing what this Hurricanes team is doing. The fact that they're the second team to hit 30 points or 30 wins and doing it through the adversity and what you saw in this back-to-back, this is the dominant Hurricanes team that we know can make a run this playoff, and that is a great sign to see. So what did Andrei Svechnikov talk about? Well, stick around. We'll talk about it here in a second on a Monday edition of Locked On Hurricanes. The wild card round is here, and FanDuel is officially in playoff mode. Every game day during the NFL playoffs, FanDuel is giving customers even more ways to get on the action because right now, every NFL game day, FanDuel users get a profit boost pack waiting for them inside the app. Each game day, you'll see a pack load with multiple profit boosts you can apply to the bets you like the most. The boosts give you more juice on the bets you already like instead of forcing you to bet something new. Every play feels bigger, and the boosts make your bets feel that way too. You make your picks, then apply your profit boost to go after even bigger payouts while the playoffs are rolling. So visit FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL, and grab your profit boost pack every NFL playoff game day. Welcome back to segment 2 of Locked On Hurricanes, your team every day. So we kind of gave a brief overview of the Hurricanes' 9-1 win against the Panthers, 4-1 win against the New Jersey Devils. But on Saturday, what did Andrei Svechnikov say after his hat trick performance against New Jersey, following the Nikolai Ehlers hat trick against the Florida Panthers the night before? Well, we'll listen to it and react to that right now.
Second half of back-to-back, they've been sitting here waiting for you for a few days. How big was that effort to kind of shake off that first period and get your game in the second?
Yeah, obviously it was back-to-back for us. We kind of were prepared and, it's never easy to play here. It's always hard and always good match. They got a great team there. That's why they're in a playoff every year. But we kind of know how to play against them, and we got the system, so we just were following our system.
You closed out on Luke Hughes to kind of force the turnover to get it to Sebastian to get you the goal.
Yeah.
Is that kind of the type of play you're making when you're feeling your full 200-foot game?
Definitely. Obviously I'm a pretty big boy, so I kind of have to use my body, and whatever I use my body, then I kind of create the space for my liners, and yeah.
You've talked a lot about Freddie this year and how the confidence you guys have in him, even when he's not at his best sometimes, but he had his best tonight. What did you see?
Yeah, he played great. He saved us. They had few chances, obviously. He kept us in the game, and he played an amazing game tonight.
Talk about the chemistry between you and Aho.
Yeah, I mean, we've been together for 8 years. We've been playing on and off, but I feel like we got the great chemistry together, and we always trying to go every time, and I try to support him. He tried to support me, but we got also Jarvis, so we all good, 3 of us.
You went for the lacrosse goal for the hat trick before you ended up getting it. What did you see on that play to tell you to go for it?
Yeah, I mean, just score a couple of goals. Had a little bit confident, and why not? So I was behind the net, but he kind of knocked my stick. So I felt like even if it wouldn't be the D there, and then maybe I had a good chance to score that one.
Surprised a little bit on that first goal he scored there, from the circle on March.
Not really. I mean, I think that was a kind of I was right in a slot and kind of had to shoot quickly, and not really. I mean, it was kind of, my opinion, it was a pretty good shot underneath of the glove.
Big thank you to Andrei Svechnikov and the Carolina Hurricanes. And, you hear it from the fact that you're talking about a team like the Hurricanes going into the second half of a back-to-back, just absolutely routed the Panthers the night before. New Jersey's waiting for you, and you're kind of saying, okay, how's this going to work out? What's going to happen on the second half of a back-to-back? Last time the Hurricanes were in New Jersey, that was the part where you see, Luke Hughes just gets absolutely, doesn't have a great night for himself, kind of leads to a couple of goals, for the Hurricanes against his team. And, how is New Jersey going to bounce back? Because they're having a little bit of a weird season for them. And the Hurricanes just found a way to get the job done with the fact that, it's 0-0 after one. Like, okay, you kind of feel like that was going to be the case because, like I said, it's the second half. You get outshot 10-4 in the first period. Jersey was kind of waiting for you. You just played the night before, scored a ton of goals, and you were wondering, okay, the Hurricanes scored too many. How's this going to work out? And then you score 2 in the second. You only had one power play the entire night, which is crazy. PK did their job though. They did go, 3 for 4, so you'll take that. But you come out in the second, 16-11 in shots, 15-9 in the third. You score 2 in the second, 2 in the third. You just find a way to Andrei Svechnikov scored pretty quickly between his 2 goals. He had Devil score on the power play, and then it was Jackson Blake. 4 minutes later than Andrei for the hat trick, and it says a lot about this team for the fact that you go after the first set of the back-to-backs earlier in the week. Yeah, it's a tough one in Detroit. You get shut out against the Blues. It almost reminds you of the Pittsburgh game to end 2025, where it was just flat from the jump. But this one is like they come off that huge one against Florida, puts up 9, and then you can see those guys are a little bit tired in the first part of the period, first period, just because the fact that you played a very, you put up 6 goals in the third period, you're kind of on cruise control, but then you got a team that's you're a little bit tired because, like I said, you just played, you had to fly that same night to New Jersey and play essentially 24 hour, between start times, 24-hour difference. New Jersey's waiting for you. You get to the first, big saves from Freddie, keeps you in it, and then boom, goal, boom, a second one, and then you're up. Yeah, New Jersey cuts the lead in half, and then a quick response just 4 minutes later from Blake, and then it's there's the Hattie for Svech, back-to-back games with hat tricks, and you get another win. And that's, I think, is where you look at where this Hurricanes team is. You learn from the initial back-to-backs earlier in the week, and then you go and take care of business in the second part of another set of back-to-backs in the same week. And you go get the job done in a way too, where, like I said, multiple guys had 5 points in 2 games. You outscore your opponents 13-2, and you found a way to, battle through a first period in the second half of a back-to-back. You keep it tied, and then you go score goals and keep a lead, and it's just, you love to hear from the fact that Andrei's like, yeah, him and Aho have been together for a while. He supports Aho when he's doing well. Aho supports him when he's doing well, and just the chemistry is really there with those guys. And the team was prepared. They did their job. They played their style, and they didn't falter from it. And that's why you see a performance like that. If the Hurricanes can play their style like they did in these 2 games and do it more consistently, I think this is where you're going to see a team like Carolina be the Eastern Conference version to whatever degree of the Avalanche. I don't think they're going to be where the Avalanche are, the absolute wagon that they are. But if Carolina could be any part of that, where they're the Eastern Conference version, when they're just going into town and just ripping goals and playing their style and being a force, I think this is where you're going to see the Hurricanes retake the number 1 seed in the East, because Tampa is still ahead of them, but you're finding a way to get the job done. I think that's what's really going to help the Hurricanes, is just staying on their path of what they're doing now. It'll be very, very beneficial. I think with what the Hurricanes are right now, you are definitely seeing that from them. So that being said, we did a general overview of the games against New Jersey and Florida, and heard from Andrei Svechnikov from postgame on Saturday. Now we're going to turn the page to the Monday afternoon game at 1:30 on Martin Luther King Day against the Buffalo Sabres. So stick around. We'll preview that here in a second on a Monday edition of Locked On Hurricanes. If you've ever hired someone who looked good on paper but wasn't the right fit, You know how important that is. When you want candidates who truly match what you're looking for, trust Indeed sponsored jobs. Hiring? Well, Indeed is all you need. Stop struggling to get your job posting on other sites. Indeed sponsored jobs put your post at the top of the page and help you reach the right candidates faster. Instead of struggling to get your job posting, Indeed's sponsored jobs helps your listing stand out and reach quality candidates faster. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed are 90% more likely to report a higher than non-sponsored jobs. Spend more time interviewing candidates who check all your boxes with less stress, less time, and more results using Indeed sponsored jobs. Listeners of this show get a $75 sponsored job credit to help give your job the premium placement it deserves at Indeed.com/lockedon. Just go to Indeed.com/lockedon right now and support the show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Thank you for making Locked On Hurricanes your first listen today, and thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. If you haven't already, go check out our new Everydayer Club. Access to an ad-free audio version of Locked On Hurricanes compatible both Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and every other major podcast app. And it's an invite to the members-only Locked On Everydayer Club Discord server, which includes a group chat just for listeners of Locked On Hurricanes and all other shows within the network. So tap the link in the show notes or the description to learn more and sign up today. Now, welcome back to segment 3 of Locked On Hurricanes, your team every day. Now, like I said, we've talked about New Jersey, talked about the Florida games. Now we are going to move on to the Monday afternoon game against the Buffalo Sabres. And depending on when you listen to this, is either you caught it before the game or what have you. But this is a 1:30 p.m. start time on TNT, True TV, and HBO Max. And of course, Mike and Tripp will be on the radio call at 99.9 The Fan. Buffalo Sabres 26-16-5 to Carolina Hurricanes 30-15-4. This is the final matchup of the regular season between two teams. This is the rubber match. Hurricanes winning 6-3 on November 8th. Buffalo winning 4-1 on November 23rd in Buffalo. First game was in Raleigh. This one, like I said, Monday afternoon at the Lenovo Center. Last 10 games, Buffalo Sabres lost to the Minnesota Wild in overtime, so they are on a 3-game point streak, but they are 7-2-1 in their last 10. They have been on an absolute tear. It is crazy to think that Buffalo is in a wild card spot right now. Hurricanes 6-3-1, just with their back-to-back against the wins against New Jersey and Florida. Last 5 games, Tage Thompson, 4 goals, 7 assists, 11 points in his last 5. In terms of the Hurricanes, Andrei Svechnikov, 4 goals, Sebastian Aho, 7 assists for 7 points. Now, what does the tail of the tape say between these two teams? Well, goals for per game, Carolina is 3rd in the league at 3.41, Buffalo 9th at 3.28. Goals allowed, Buffalo has given up 3.15, so they are 21st. Carolina 2.9, which is 9th. So the Hurricanes are a better 5-on-5 team. The Sabres have been on an absolute run as of late. So while they are scoring a lot of goals, it is top 10 in the league. They are giving up over 3 a game. So if the Hurricanes can find a way to keep continuing their shutdown performances and scoring a ton of goals, like I said, 13 goals for, 2 against in the last 2 games. If they keep that up, hopefully their 5-on-5 play should be a little more dominant on the Sabres. But this is where you really don't want to take these guys for granted because they are absolutely nasty right now with how they've been playing. Special teams, this is almost a kind of a wash. When you look at the Sabres, they are 20th in the league at 19.6% on the power play. The Hurricanes now, 21.5%, which is 13th. They jumped from 19th to 13th just because of the fact that they went 4 for 5 against the Panthers for 8%. Yeah, they went 0 for 1. It is what it is. But you go from 21.6 to 21.5, and you're still 13th. The Hurricanes, before December 5th, were dead last in the league on the power play. Now you're looking at January 19th coming into the Sabres game. They are now 13th in the league. They got from dead last to 13. They're in the top 15 of the league. They're closing in on the top 10. I don't think a lot of people would even consider the power play being this good, but they've been on an absolute run since the very part of early December. Penalty kill starting to get there, starting to creep back up. 16th for the Hurricanes at 19.4. Sabres are 6th at 83.1. So this is where it's kind of even, where the power play is really good for the Hurricanes. Sabres is okay. Penalty kill, it is 6th to 16th, but this is, you're talking top 10, top half. This is where it's going to be very interesting with how the special teams is going to play. So if you're Carolina, you really want to make sure that you are taking advantage, pun intended, of the man advantage and really holding Buffalo to nothing, because you don't want to give those guys opportunities. Now, what could the potential goalie matchups look like? Well, you did the back-to-back with, you had Bussy against Florida, Freddie against New Jersey. You had Sunday off. I feel like this is where you want to get Brandon Bussy back in, because, you want to keep flip-flopping back and forth. For me, this is where you look at Brandon Bussy being the starter for the Hurricanes. 17-3-1, 225 goals against, a 905 save with a shutout. Freddie, 7-10-3 with a 325 goals against and an 869 save. Like I said, if we're doing this back and forth, flip-flopping right now, just trying to, with all these back-to-backs and stuff, especially 3 games in 4 days, I think Brandon Bussy is the guy for the Carolina Hurricanes. Now, looking on the Sabres side of things, Alex Lyon, 10-6-3, 2.82 goals against, a 906 save and a shutout. Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen, 10-6-2, a 272 goals against, a 901 save. That is a 26-16-5 overall. 3.15 goals against, an 894 save with the shutout for the Sabres. Carolina, 30-15-4, 290 goals against, an 882 save. And unfortunately, one of the 2 shutouts is with Peter Kochetkov. I think it'll be very interesting to see where Buffalo goes with this, because you could go with Alex Lyon. You could go with Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen. The records are dang near similar, outside of one extra overtime loss for Alex Lyon, overtime shootout, what have you, against UPL. Goals against, you're talking a 0.10 difference. Save percentage, 0.005 difference. Sabres could go any direction here. I could see either UPL or Lyon going in this game. It would be interesting to see if a former Carolina Hurricanes goaltender goes against them in this one. But either way, don't be surprised if the Sabres go with either guy. It's good. Like I said, this is a game where, the Sabres are top 10 in scoring, but they are 21st in goals allowed. If you can get to either one of these goalies, I think you're going to get shot. It's just stick to your game plan. Carry over what you've done for the last couple of games. Find a way that, to limit your penalties, and if you get those opportunities, go take advantage of it, and just find a way to get your 3rd straight win and keep this thing rolling and get your 31st win of the season. So this would be very interesting for the fact you're talking 3 games in 4 days. You have the Sunday off. Obviously, there's, I would be very, very surprised if there was a morning skate course. When you guys hear this, you'll probably know if we do. I seriously doubt it, for the fact that you're talking this is a 1:30 start. Unless it's a very, very light thing in the morning, I don't really see the Hurricanes doing anything with just the fact that it's so early in the afternoon. I'm curious to see how many people are going to show up to this game, because this is Martin Luther King Jr. Day, unless schools are out and jobs and stuff like that. It's very weird to have a 1:30 start on a Monday, but hey, welcome to the NHL. Things get weird, but it's 3 games in 4 days. Hopefully the Hurricanes just keep this thing rolling, gets their 3rd straight win in a row, go up to 31 on the season. We'll see how it works out. But the Hurricanes are rolling, playing some great hockey. Let's see if this thing carries over onto MLK Day, and we move on from there. So it should be very, very interesting to see how all of this plays out. But guys, this will be the Monday edition of Locked On Hurricanes. Thank you for making your first listen of the day. If you've never missed an episode, the Everyday Club is built for you. You can check out Locked On Hurricanes ad-free, plus a members-only Discord access and more. Head to the link in the show notes or the description below to join today. For those of you on video, we send you to the first ever 24/7 national Locked On Podcast Network YouTube channel. On audio, make sure to make your second listen to the NHL Game Night on Locked On NHL. If you want to keep up with me, I'm a one-shirt Zach on X. The podcast is @L_Hurricanes. I'm also on Blue Sky, the Zachary Martin, where if you click the link tree in my bios, you can find all of my written content at thehockeywriters.com. And you can check out my other podcasts, which is the Searchcast on all podcast platforms and on YouTube. For Locked On Hurricanes, we're on Spotify, Google, Apple, iHeartRadio, wherever you listen to your podcast. make sure to leave a 5-star rating and review. If you're on YouTube, it's Locked On Hurricanes. Subscribe, hit the bell notification so you don't miss the show. Hit the thumbs up so you don't like the show as well. Share with other Caniacs to become everydayers just like you. And thank you to everyone for getting us up to over 1,700 subscribers. I started hosting the show back when we were like less than 750 back in April of 2024. Now in January of 2026, we're over 1,700 and we are slowly on our path to 2,000 subscribers. If we can get that before the end of the season, including playoffs, that would be phenomenal. But thank you to everyone who's gotten us to 1,700 subscribers already. It is crazy to think about. But hope everyone enjoyed the Monday edition of Locked On Hurricanes. Enjoy your Monday and have fun watching your Hurricanes with an early afternoon game against the Buffalo Sabres. And until next time, as always, let's go Canes.